And the very first thing that I start off with is my posture. The second thing that I start off with is keeping my arm long and erect, and I'm going to draw from my shoulder. That's why I've got such awesome, massive shoulders. It's because I always draw from the shoulder. Popular. All right. The first thing that I start out with is a general gesture, and this is to give me indication of place and direction. Everybody know that I'm looking at the bone here, right? I start off with a gesture, and then I just sort of indicate roughly how large my subject is going to be. And I do this lightly, and you see why I hold it at the tip for this reason. You all see that? I can do this with vine charcoal, but just because I'm focusing on individual subjects here, I'm going to just do this with my charcoal. Now, I've got a general organic shape. There's not a lot going on here in terms of straight lines, so I can flub a little bit. It's not imperative that I absolutely get this perfectly. What's imperative is that I focus on getting the line down correctly. And you'll note where I hold my charcoal. How I hold my charcoal is basically key in obtaining a contour that is interesting, that is volumetric, and that is accurate. It creates an active drawing in which your subject is not only indicating the light, but also the volume that it retains. I can go fast, I can go slow, I can increase and decrease my pressure, but I'm really going very, very slowly here so that I can at least give myself some sort of indication of where it sits in space, where it turns, and where an edge becomes hard versus soft. I usually like to pull my line rather than push, so you'll never see me go up. You'll always see me go down, or you'll see me move the paper, at least moving the paper. And often you won't see me going over a line a couple of times unless I really, really need to, unless I've missed something, unless I've made a mistake. But in the end, if I constantly go over the line, what you'll see is that it sort of becomes a little feathery, it's not as graphic, there's not as much going on, and I do not indicate value until I'm ready. So that's the first thing. So that is good line variation. If I give you a second object, go something different like this. All right. What's the first thing I do? Walk me through it.
Like a light sketch.
What's the first thing I do?
The outline of the...
Nope. Where am I
The
sitting?
shoulders straight.
All right.
Posture.
I remind myself about the posture. What's the second thing I remind myself about?
Keep your hands straight
Yeah. Keep my arms straight and locked.
and draw it with your shoulder.
Drawing with my shoulder. Good. What's the first thing I do in terms of actually making a mark?
Holding your pencil from the tip of the...
Good. And then what's the thing I do when I make a mark?
Start drawing the
What's it called?
shadow, the sketch, the outline.
Gesture. We'll actually devote entire classes to gesture. Gesture is very important. Gesture is basically the visual thrust of the subject. Okay, for a form, for a figure, it's much more complicated. But basically I've gotten the general gist or gestalt of the subject, right? Gesture, not gesture, gesture.
Gesture.
All right. Once I've gotten that gesture, I can refine my form a little bit if I want to. I can sort of lightly indicate what I need to indicate before I really commit to my contour. And I would actually strongly suggest that you do that because your contour is going to suck and you're going to polish a turd if you commit to something that is incorrect. I'm fairly confident with that, and then I'm ready to indicate my contour. And you're going to know I take great pains with indicating a contour that is relatively specific to the subject that I'm drawing. The more specific I am, the more naturalistic, and that's actually the word that we're going to use here. That's your word of the day, naturalistic, rather than realistic or photorealistic. Naturalistic is the appropriate term to refer to something that might be very true to nature. That's hence the root word there, right? Derp. Now, in a contour, do I draw what might be printed on my...
No.
Why?
Because your eyes in here.
And you can feel them.
Good. Say it again. And you don't?
Feel them.
If you can't feel it, it's not going to be drawn in the gesture. However, when we get to more resolved drawings, when we get to value, that's absolutely when you need to indicate something like that. So I'm not going to have you draw something like, now, oh, okay. I note in my head that this tube top is much more structurally significant than, and much more defined as a geometric shape as the organic shape that I've committed to here. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time on it.
Yeah, because you can feel the top and the roughness on the top.
Heck yeah, absolutely. There's a texture in the corrugation of the surface of this, what's that called?
Cap.
Cap. Brr. Long weekend. Spent it ill and in bed. I did. Don't you feel sorry for me? And that is an appropriate contour for my subject. You can turn it off now.